You can start, ma'am.
All right, so I think I'm live now. A very good morning to all of you. So let's take the cue from where we ended in the last class. We have to cover up all that is left in this unit. All right. So if there's any query from the last class, anything that you wish to ask, you can ask me. All right. We did R.K. Narayan. Yes, today we are, and we also were done with the Free Radio by Salman Rushdie, right? So today we have to do. Okay, this is on page number 20. All right, I hope you dwelt in all the questions that are given over here. I've already told you that since it's the last class, I wanted all of you to already have read the summary, if not the master text. Why? Because so that you can answer, you can question, you can pose a relevant question which I can answer. All right, so let's quickly get through Rohinton Mystery swimming lessons. All right, this is what we are going to start with. Then we are going to take a one poetry, which is left, and then we will see what else we will be covering up. All right, Pooja. Yes. Good morning, Nidhi. Good morning, Shruti. Roshni. A very good morning to all of you. Okay, so I hope you understood the idea of how the Free Radio by Salman Rushdie was a political allegory. What does it say about the disappointment of man and the idea of him being always in a loop of expectancy? That is, always expecting something that has been promised by the authorities, in this case, the government, and what he never gets. All right, something that he has been expecting and did a specific task for, he did not get that. The idea of the struggle of a common man, the idea of a normal, common, poor class man who was entangled in this political gamut. All right, so this is what we were looking at. All right, I hope you understand that. And the idea of the open ending of the story, that is, we never know whether he's telling the truth by saying that I've become a big star, or whether he's just lying and going again in a delusional state. All right, that was it. So clear. I hope you were able to understand Ramani's point of view and the idea of the narrator being not in favor of this. All right. So let's start with the swimming lesson. Let's quickly start with the swimming lesson. So the short story, this is on page number 22. The short story is set in an apartment building in the Don Mills suburb of Toronto. Most of the events take place in the elevator lobby and parking lot of the building and the neighboring high school pool. You will immediately notice that parts of the short stories are italicized. This is to differentiate the two narratives voices in the story. The first person narrative is by a young Parsi Indian immigrant in Toronto, and the third person narrative in italics is set in his parents' house in Firozshah Bagh in Bombay. The narrator has recently shifted to a new apartment in Toronto and writes about the little daily happenings around him. Through the eyes of the immigrant, even seemingly insignificant things acquire secondary meaning. So, the idea of an immigrant talking, that is, when you are going to a new country, when you are in a new country, in a new setting, there is always one varied perspective that you render to the place. For example, if you're visiting a place for the first time, you will have a different perspective, and what and in whose sense will it be different? In the sense of other people who are already residing in that place. All right, so that is what the writer is exactly talking about. Okay, just 1 minute. Yeah. Okay, so on page number 22 only, on his way in and out of the building, the narrator observes an old man sitting in a wheelchair in the hallway, trying to strike up a conversation with the other residents of the building, asking the same question, how old do you think I am? The residents humor the old man, always picking a lower number to cheer him up. The narrator also plays along. Watching him, the narrator is reminded of his grandfather who has Parkinson's disease and would spend most of his time waving to neighbors and watching the traffic outside the housing complex of Firozshah Bagh in Bombay. We are introduced to another resident in the apartment building, PW, a Portuguese woman, as she is called throughout the story. She is a designated communicator who keeps a close watch on everyone and gives the narrator daily updates on happenings in the building. It is a Portuguese woman who tells the narrator about the old man's daughter who lives with him to take care of him. This immediately reminds the narrator of his own mother who took good care of his grandfather till the end. After he broke a hip to osteoporosis, he was admitted to the Parsi General Hospital where he developed pneumonia and never recovered. He remembers how his mother struggled alone to take care of her father, and he is filled with regret for having visited him only once in the hospital. Through it, though his mother told him that the blessings of an old person were the most valuable and important of all. Notice how the old man and the Portuguese women are never named, they remain anonymous and unknown. Compared to the narrator's distance from his new neighbor in his recollection of his old ones by name, Rustumji, Nariman Hansotia, and the Aya Jacqueline from Firozabad. So, what are we telling? What are we talking about? Okay, let me point out some important parts for you. Written by an Indian origin writer, Rohinton Mystery Swimming Lesson is the last short story in the collection of tales from Firozabad, published in 1987. So the collection of stories is named Firozabad. You must have heard and read about this short story also, very famous. I think this must have been in your course, or maybe this was in the ELTL course, yes. And then all right. So in Firozabad also you can read the story. It's an interesting one. The Aya Jacqueline, the character is reintroduced. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the narrator's perspective to a new place as an immigrant, how he watches over other person and what are the effects that it has on him. All right, so all these factors you have to keep in mind: the idea of perspective, the idea of perception. First of all, you perceive, then there is a prism through which you see and form a perspective. All right. Good morning, Sarabjeet, Preeti, Nikita, Prince, Gopal, Sanjana. Yes, yes, Nikita. So this short story is very basic, easy to understand. I think from here you will be able to understand it. The idea of an immigrant, the idea of identity crisis, the idea of displacement from home, that is whenever he's seeing anything familiar that reminds him of his home. All right, the old man who keeps on asking people that how old do I look, and they say that you just look very young, or they will hit a number which is quite unimaginable for him, and it cheers him up. And somebody tells him that this old man, this Portuguese old man, is taken care by his daughter, and that reminds the narrator of his own grandfather and how his mother used to take care of him. All right, so this is a very basic story. The idea of identity crisis, the idea of having a new place, a new perspective, and what all factors do come into play is there. All right, you can read this on your own, not an issue. The factors that we have discussed in all through the short stories will be applicable in this one as well. Good morning, Monica, Kunika. I hope you all are doing well. So that is about it. I will just tell you next what we are going to do. Just wait a minute. All right, so now we will be beginning with, okay, we will be beginning with Tara. Yes, that is what we have to do. Then we will be done with all the text. Okay, we will do this one. I hope the study material is clear to you. Poem and drama. This is Mahesh Dattani's Tara that we are going to start with. All right. The short stories, I hope all of them are clear to you. Very easy read. Just read them. Let's do this drama. Good morning, Bharti. Sadhya, I'm doing well. Sandhya, good morning. All right, let's talk about this one. So Meena Kandasamy, Touch is also an easy read. I think you will be able to understand this one. Let's talk about this first. Tara by Mahesh Dattani. Yes, we did that. Yeah. That will bring us to the end of our syllabus, this last text. So let's talk about that. So Mahesh Dattani is one of the most, let's read about a bit of the introduction to the writer, very important. I hope this study material is with all of you, right? This has been shared. Yes, it has been shared. Alright, so Mahesh Dattani is one of the most popular Indian English dramatists of the present times who still is making significant contribution to the Indian dramatic as well as cinematic world with his constant efforts to put the issues very close to Indian sensibilities in his theatrical presentation so as to enlighten the Indian audience as well as the Western counterparts. Probably along with Vijay Tendulkar, Mohan Rakesh, and Badal Sarkar. Badal Sarkar is famous for what? For introducing third theatre. That is the closest to how a theatre or how the theatrical practice should be as close to the audience as it could be. So least amount of paraphernalia, least amount of props being used, very basic stage setting. He can be considered to a great modern dramatist from India who have helped in making Indian theatre, especially Indian English drama, stand on its 2 feet and with an example. As per the syllabus of B Honors English, we will have be dealing with Mahesh Dattani's Tara. Okay, which is okay. Now let's read from. Okay, let's talk about some commentaries which have been made on Mahesh Dattani. So Mahesh Dattani to be is considered to be a committed writer that we already have learned about. Then John Paul Sartre in his famous book What is Literature, while speaking about the commitment of the writer, states the writer has chosen to reveal the world and particularly to reveal man to other men so that latter may assume full responsibility before the object which has been thus laid bare. A committed writer reveals the world to the audience or reader so that they may not say that they had no idea that the world was so. As Sartre further adds, the committed writer knows that words are action. He knows that to reveal is to change. The function of a writer is to act in such a way that nobody can be ignorant of the world and nobody may say that this he's innocent of what it is all about. Jean-Paul Sartre, what is literature, emphasis added. So the idea of what Jean-Paul Sartre over here is speaking about Mahesh Dattani. Why is it important? Because it gives us an idea of what kind of writer he is. That is, he's saying he is one of the writer who takes responsibility for the art he produces. All right, in a way which is socially aware. That is, whoever sees your drama, whoever sees your work of art, he or she should be made aware of a different aspect of the life and of the world, and should be not in a position to say that I'm innocent, I'm devoid of all the knowledge that the world is going about in. I don't know anything about the world, how it works. He or she should be able to implicitly and explicitly accept and explore and see through the ideas that have been talked about in the drama. That is the purpose of a committed writer. That is the role of a committed writer. All right. Then, okay, so let's talk about Tara now. Wait, why I'm not able to zoom it? Wait. All right, so scholars and critics dealing with Indian theatre, especially Indian English theatre, are of the opinion that Mahesh Dattani is a dramatist who provided a new direction to Indian theatre, not only because of the concerns of the underprivileged and marginalized that he takes. All right, over here in his theatrical works, but also because of his theatrical innovations and techniques. All right, so now, what Dattani himself says. So, why is this introduction important? It is important for the fact that when you're writing the drama, and if I've already told you, if there's some question that you're not confirmed about, then what is it that I need to actually write on it, you can simply refer to the introduction. You can simply add some of the quotations of the introduction, something about the writer, so that your answer is justifiable, right? So that the evaluator gets an idea that yes, he or she is doing something, has read something, and is acquainted with the same. Alright, as for the short stories, you'll be able to cover it, don't worry. Yes, content, you'll be able to cover this one as well. I gave you all the analysis that you require for the one that you could not might have been able to understand. So over here, he writes himself, I would like to challenge the assumption of what is Indian. Does that mean traditional theater forms? Yes, they are wonderful. They are very sophisticated. They are very impressive, but are they really India? That's something I would like to question and challenge. Are they really reflecting life as it is now? And is the question that I would like to ask. They are fine, but there is a danger that if you look at them as if they are quintessential India, you are doing those forms a great disservice because you are not allowing them to change. What we need to do now is to look at those forms and say we are approaching the 21st century where this is where we are and this is our legacy, so where we take that. So now he's talking about the idea of when he says that I appreciate the modern stage, I appreciate how and what is projected in the Indian theatre by and large, but is it the real India that we are reflecting on? He's asking a very poignant question. He's saying that do you think that the concerns of the people who have been marginalized and the people who have been forced to live at the fringes have been adequately represented in this in this for? No, they have not been adequately represented. And when you talk about the modern India, when you talk about the India which is rich and affluent, do you think that this is the whole picture of India? He's saying that we might not be completely against this viewpoint, but the idea is that of also introducing those who have not been given equal or any kind of representation hitherto. All right, till now, which means till now. So that also needs to be considered. That also needs to be taken account for. All right, only that is the way forward. That is what he's talking about. So by now you must have realized that Mahesh Dattani is wait. What is wrong? Why is it getting stuck? Now it must be visible, so let's talk about the same. So, but you must have realized that Mahesh Dattani is very conscious, committed writer who, in his plays and other artistic expressions, always intends to reveal the atrocities that the Indian society went through and at the same time represent the new voices emerging in India, which needs to be incorporated in the Indian cultural sensibilities so as to manifest the new modern India. So the idea of reveal the atrocities, mark this, reveal the atrocities that the Indian society went through, and at the same time represents the new voices emerging in India, which needs to be incorporated in the Indian cultural sensibilities so as to manifest the new modern India. All right. The contemporariness of his themes make his play so appealing and popular. Let me just zoom in more for a clear vision. The contemporariness of his themes makes his play so appealing and popular. In the play Tara, the theme of gender discrimination is being represented through the portrayal of Siamese twin, conjoined twins. That is, those twins who have been joined at the birth, who come in as joined with a specific body part. The unjust way in which the leg which naturally belongs to the girl Tara is being given to the boy Chandan forms the crux of the dramatic representation. So the idea of gender discrimination hereby, we are talking about the idea of new theatrical practice that we have talked about. The idea of representing the hitherto unrepresented is what we are looking at essentially. So it is around this incident that the play revolves, though the play begins with Dan Chandan as the Sutradhar, as well as a character who's reminiscing about the way in which Tara was unjustly treated. So, you probably have by now understood the fact that in the play dealing with the theme of gender discrimination, the play deals with the theme of gender related atrocities that women in India and also in all other patriarchal societies of the world go through. But it also deals with some of the other issues such as family, use of science and medicine in life, etc. Tar is the third play by Mahesh Dattani. It was first staged in Bangalore Chidian Memorial Hall on 23rd of October 1919 by Playpen Performing Arts Groups directed by Dattani himself. All right, let's talk about this. Now, Mahesh Dattani himself, what does he say? Well, basically, it began with, reading an article in a medical journal about Siamese twins being separated. And of course, when they were invariably of the same sex, and there was this thing about a fused leg, and which had the qualities of both left and right. So there had to be some careful consideration as to which twin was supplying the blood to the leg. And the journal went into the details because obviously it was a very unique operation and separation. Although it was an inspiration, but I think by then having written Dance Like a Man, I was prepared to take on gender issues head on. And I think that was a powerful metaphor. Again, the play is misread, and people tend to focus on the medical details, but that's really not what the play is about. It's a metaphor either for being born equal as male and female, sharing so much more. With a surgical separation comes a cultural distinction and prejudices as well. But on another level, it could deal with the individual having the male and female self. So the idea of androgyny, the idea of what and who will people choose if given a chance. That is what the writer is essentially talking about. And he's saying that, the idea is not basically about just gender discrimination, but the idea of what constitutes a person. Is it just the female and feminine characteristics that constitutes a person, or is it the masculine characteristics that truly represent a person, or is it a kind of androgyny that we are specifically talking about? So what is androgyny? When you have the perfect balance of being a female and male, so that kind of androgynous nature, that kind of androgyny which entails from the perfect balance of two elements, is what do we call the right way of being. You cannot say that, okay, a man cannot cry, a man cannot show emotions, a man cannot show physical affection. No, that is just the forte of women. No, you cannot say that a woman cannot build muscles, cannot do some physical activity, cannot be as aspirational as a man, because that is not about it. These gender categories have been constructed and reaffirmed and reiterated by the society itself. Sex is a natural category, that is, you are biologically male or female, and there is the third gender. But the idea of performative gender, that is being a female, you have to act like a female or you have to act like a man, is in itself a very bogus concept of strict restrictions. These are fluid categories. You understand, they crisscross, they intervene, there is a perfect intersection, there is a perfect meeting point. Only we need to understand that in a better way. All right, so the idea of androgyny in itself, the idea of having the perfect balance of feminine and masculine, you also must have known which god is the representative of this idea of both female and male energy. Lord Shiva. He's being worshipped by the transgender community as well, because he perfectly balances the idea of being masculine and feminine. It is not as if you have to be one way. There is no one way. There is no black and white in this world. Everything has a gray shade to it. Everything has multiplicity. Only we need to open our eyes and accept the truth for ourselves. All right, then. Okay, so any question till now? Are you able to understand? Any comments, any questions you can ask me? I'm checking the live Q&A. All right, so this is an important drama, therefore we are taking this up. Others, we have already covered the most. We have already covered the syllabus. This is the last one that we have. As for the short stories, you read it on your own. Okay, good, Simmer. No problem. Just read everything that has been covered. Don't worry about it. You'll be able to understand. You have attended all of the classes, I know. So what you can do, the major themes remain the same. All right. Pooja, you are saying it's showing racism towards a girl child. So the man idea of this drama is gender equality, or is there anything else too? Pooja, see, racism, not racism, but discrimination on the basis of gender. Racism is on the basis of color. All right. Yes, Divya, that is what we are talking about. That you cannot decide that what a female should do, how a female should be, or how a male should be. They can be anything that they want and still remain. Okay, Ria, you're saying, ma'am, please explain the idea of androgyny again. The idea of being androgynous. So the spelling is A-N, not E-N. So the idea of being androgynous is that you have the perfect balance of feminine and masculine. That is, you need not to be an alpha male. You need not to tell people and repeatedly do things that prove that you're a man enough. All right. Or in order to be a woman, you need not to feign, be weak, always be in a certain way. So that is what the people think. That is what they have asked us to do. That is what they frame us, they condition us to be. But that is not what we essentially have to be. All right, so we need to break away from that those shackles, from those constrictions, and become something that we actually wish to. Khushi, okay, let's keep it to the towards the end. First, from this, ask me questions from this. Yes, Divya, right, good. The idea of sexism is there. Nikita, all the things that we have discussed, the themes, the storyline, all these are what are going to be asked. For example, in this also, like the idea of gendered society, the idea of gender discriminations, the idea of what is it that the writer is essentially raising a voice against, all right, and the idea of how, for example, in free radio, how is it a political allegory and such. These are the pointers that are going to be asked. Very good, Sandhya. The idea of Ardhanareshwar, you are saying in the form of Ardhanareshwar, Lord Shiva manifests androgyny. Very good, yes. Yes, Kanchan, this is our last class. Nikita, yes, the examinations are going to be offline. No, Roshni, Tara and Chandan are Siamese twins. For example, you must have seen those twins who are conjoined by birth. All right, they're that. Good, Sima, there is one, you can always have the master text read, yes. There's a proper text for the same. You can do that. You must read that. It's great. Yes, Kushi, it's about how this century also girls are being harassed and surviving to live order. Yes, that's the cruel reality of this society. Therefore, the idea of sex determination in India being banned. All right, it's completely normalized process in the West. They know the gender of their children from the very beginning, but that is not a problem in their country because Women do not abort on the basis of having a female or a male child. Roshni, you are saying what is manifesting? See, manifesting is, for example, if I say that, okay, I want to score good in the examination. I've decided that I'm going to score above 60%. For example, you decide that, then you try to manifest the same. That is, you imagine, you work towards it, you make it a reality from thought to reality. That is called the idea of manifestation, that you manifest it, that throughout your routine over the days till the examination, it will show that you are trying to manifest this reality, making it a reality from a thought to reality. All right. Simran, word limit is different for everyone. For example, my basic rule is, for example, if you're writing a 10 marks question, go for 4 pages back and forth. All right, 15 markers, go for 5 pages back and forth. Ela, all about the centers administration that will be given to you later on. Don't worry about that. It is quite far off. Wait, there is some kind of doubling that I see. Yes, Prachi. Nikita, very good that you're reading the book Shadow Lines. Very happy. Yeah, it's really amazing. You will love it. Everyone also should read the same. All right, you should read all the books that have been given. Kushi, the question is that you're asking, ma'am, why Tara's family thought of giving the leg to the boy child. Chandan, as you know, the third leg blood supply was given by Tara. It's very simple. That is what they are saying. It does not matter whether the boy will be a cripple or not. What matters is that he's a boy. Whatever form he might be a handicap, might become a handicap, but the idea is that of saving the boy. If there is a choice given, they will always go for the male child. You know, that is the thought process. Even though one could have been completely healthy, the girl could have been completely healthy, lived a fulfilling life, but they still chose him over her on the basis of him being a man, a boy. Okay, let's read, then we will know more about it. So the play opens with the introduction of Tara and Chandan, a pair of conjoined twins separated through surgery, born with 3 legs between two of them. The decision on who gets the second leg is clear as the mother decides it has to be her son because he is the male heir of the family. This is the play on the injustices done to both women and men. Women bear the brunt of social stigmas because of gender bias that taints our society. The doctor performing the surgery to separate the conjoined twins makes it clear that the leg would be helpful only to the girl and would in no way aid the boy, but nonetheless succumbs to pressure from Bharti and deprives the girl of what was biologically hers. Bharti tries to get over her guilt by overindulging Tara, but no amount of empathy or sympathy can undo the injustice she has done. And this guilt further leads to her mental breakdown and the deterioration of her relationship with her husband. Chandan, on the other hand, bears the brunt of this injustice as he lives with the knowledge that the useless limb that he was given during surgery was rightfully Tara's. He has to live through life carrying the burden of a wasted leg and pay for the mistake that his parents committed. Family, society, neighbors, and the value systems that prevail in them are some other themes that Dattani has dealt in Tara. What are the moral values that we find important? First question. Was Bharati right in taking the decision in Chandan's favor even when she knew the outcome of her decision? Were Dr. Thakur and his team ethically, morally, and medically right in executing a decision that they knew was medically wrong? No, I think this is not justifiable. No matter what people say, the doctor already knows. That's why you're a doctor, right? If you already know that the limb, if given to the boy, if the leg is given to the boy, it will again be useless. The boy would not be able to use it because the blood supply is from Tara's body. So you could have given one person completely able body. How does it matter whether it's a woman or a man? I don't understand this. I don't agree with this. The doctor should have taken action. Was Mr. Patel right in giving into his wife's wrong decision, or did he just accept it because he was economically and socially not at par with Bharati's family? Was it actually love or guilt that governs Bharati's decision to donate her kidney to Tara? Was Rupa representative of the society and neighbors around us right in the way she behaved and looked down upon Tara as invalid? So we as individuals have authority to take decisions that could jeopardize completely the chances of an individual growth and existence. So the idea is that of sometimes in life there are some very momentous event, and why they are momentous, why they are so prominent and poignant, because of the reason that they are the question of life and death for some people. Do you understand? So the idea is not just that of just engaging in the whims and wishes of Bharti. For example, she regrets a decision all through her life, but will that help? Because of one wrong decision, even after the doctor telling that this leg is going to be of no use to the boy and you should give it to Tara, but still there is no reasoning with this woman. So if even if she's blinded, if she's headstrong, she's committing something that is not the right thing to do, and that she along with others will be regretting all through their life, why is it that it has been given permission for? At least somebody should reason with her, right? What do you say about it? Sandhya, you are saying, ma'am, it is not only the society but also the family which instills inferiority in girl child. In very calm and subtle ways, the girls are told to behave in a certain way. Very good, Sandhya, the right. The idea of implicitly telling you, that is, they won't take a class of yours and tell you, but slowly and gradually, you know, teaching you and tutoring you in these principles. Yes, Prachi, the third leg was not helpful for Chandan. Okay, good, Simon, I'll look at that. Okay. Yes, Shruti, these are the poignant questions that we are all wondering at. You're asking, ma'am, what's wrong? Why is this discrimination takes place regarding female only? Why men never get bigger? That is the reason. That is the mentality of our society. Navodita, you are saying, okay, Navodita. I just feel in, yeah, that's very brave of you. Very brave of you, Navodita. I believe everyone will side with you on this. That's true. It's very difficult to being a woman. And I'm proud of you for the way that you have handled situations. Very good. And shame on those people who try to harass women. Shame on those. They're not, fit to be called humans even. Yes, Kushi. The idea of Bharti's parents' influence. You're saying Bharti's father who insisted her more to give the leg to the boy child. Mahi, you are saying maybe she can't take the fact that her son is disabled and the daughter is completely fine. She considers boy superior and she wants her son to be completely able. Yes, see, it is one thing to be wanting your son to be completely able if it was a fair choice, all right. And if she had done this, we would be like that, okay, it should not have been done. But there might have been some confusion that which one to choose. You had to choose one, so she chose the boy. That would have been one thing, and the boy would have come out all good and fine. But here, the doctors told her that even if you give the leg to the boy, it will be of no use to him because the blood supplies from Tara's body. So she takes away the leg which could have been perfectly fine in Tara's body and gives it to the boy who is not able to do any good with the leg because it is not usable. It does not work on his body. It is completely a limb suspended from his body. So even after knowing that the that in this situation both will become handicapped, so if there could have been one possibility of someone being able to live a fully healthy and fine life, then it should have been given, right? Yes, Vidhi, the idea of discrimination between a boy and a girl where boy is to be a majority and girl inferiority. Yes. Yes, Pooja. Yes, Sanjana, she was taking a wrong decision by saying, you are saying for her son, she was taking a wrong decision, knowing that the leg would be useless, right? Yes, Pooja, you are right in saying it's time to change the stereotypical thinking that we have. Yes, Roshni, the very good point that you have raised over here. Yes, ma'am, Bharti is also a woman, still she is doing discrimination with her girl child. Khushi, because that would have been more of a perfect choice. Nikita, you're writing. It is completely wrong on the doctor's part as well as that even after knowing that the leg would be of no use to the boy child, he still listened to the mother and did what she told. That is what I'm saying. Even if she's blinded, if she's a fool, let her consider a fool. Let's us consider that she was a fool. Then what about the doctor? What are they there for? When they know that one could have been given an able body, they make both of them a handicap. Yes, Roshni, don't know why you are saying don't know why patriarchal thinking is still alive. Even today, people choose boys over girls. Yes, it is something that needs to be changed. So this shows that the doctor followed the patriarchal mindset. Nikita, yes, Nikita. Someone is asking how can we change this mentality of the society? The only change which is possible, the grass, we have to change it from the grassroots level. When our children are growing up, we have to tell them, we have to tutor them in the principles of equality. We have to tell them that every one is equal and we have to start it at our own homes. All right, stop this patriarchal thinking of having a ear to pass on your name. No, nobody, you are no king, and even if you are a king, there is nothing which is going to be of loss if you have a girl and not a boy. It is completely fine, they're both equals. You just need to have a healthy child, a child that is useful to the country, is useful to himself or herself. That is what we should aim for. Yes, Gursimar Kaur, you can write your personal experiences as well. Yes, Shruti, you're right in saying that whenever a girl is harassed, people generally say that it's the fault of the girl, the way she, maybe the way that she dressed up, or maybe she could have seduced him that you have written. Yes, that is one of the things that is always prevalent. Sunday is saying, ma'am, I think the science and technology is responsible for many heinous crimes like female feticide and infanticide. And this case, we saw another one with the legs applied to the incompatible boy over a suitable girl. Very, very good. Yes. Yes, Nikita, the idea that you are writing, the biggest irony is that Bharti herself, being a woman, does not hesitate in snatching away the right. Nidhi, you are saying the boy is a family ear, and this is what our Indian culture has the mentality for. Yes, right. Let me just look at all the answers. All right. Okay, so there are many. I've read some. All right, so Nikita, you are saying yes, Bharati is representative of women who complain about them being discriminated and being denied their rights, but still they consider as who being superior over girls. Boys being, you might have been wanting to write boys being superior to the girls. This is reality of a country, 110%. And Prachi, you have written the same thing about patriarchal society. And Roshni, you have talked about the idea of how family plays an important role in such upbringing. Yes, Konika Goswami, you have again pointed out the same thing of how it is the family's attitude which has to be changed. And Roshni, again, you have talked about the idea of not taking anyone not taking a stand against what is being wrong in the society, right? Very good, excellent, all of you. Very happy that you all are able to analyze it so well. Good, Roshni. You can go about different works of Dattani now. So the struggle continues, and Tara clearly reflects the attempts of an individual efforts for existence, growth, and development. The fight is an unending one, and we as silent audiences witness the very reflection of issues that exist all around us. The desire to lead a life that is normal without any deformities exists in all of us. But then, what is normal? Is it normal to do injustice to a child only because she's a girl child? A closer look at this theme makes us remorsefully angry and bitter about the patriarchal and cruel society in which we live. All right, so this is what the play is about. Now I hope you will be able to analyze the same. All right, now we will take up the poetry which was left. All right, this was Meena. Let's do that. So there are certain issues that Meena Kandaswamy has pertinently talked about. So let's talk about the same. Let's look at the same. I'll tell you from where. So, come over here. This is on page number 22. Uma Chakravarti, in her article in her own right, writing from a Dalit feminist standpoint, studies Dalit women's writing in various Indian languages and sees a few points of focus. These four aspects are also focus of points in Meena Kandaswamy's poetry. So these are the themes that you have to employ when you're reading her poetry. That is that of untouchability and being forced into traditionally dirty occupation, lack of access to water, lack of access to education, the sexual availability of Dalit women for exploitation by upper caste men. So the idea that the writer is talking about is what? She's talking about the idea of how there have been certain prejudices that have been formed against Dalit women. For example, why I call Dalit women as doubly geo paradise? Because first, they are being discriminated on the basis of being women. Second, they are discriminated on the basis of being Dalit. Third, they are discriminated on the basis of being poor. If it's a poor Dalit woman that we're talking about, then there are three levels of vulnerability that she suffers from, and this is what is happening in the story as well. This is what Meena Kandaswamy has repeatedly reiterated and talked about in her poetry and other works. So this is what we are going to do. So in the area of sexuality, the Dalit women have always been seen as being loose, promiscuous, and freely available for use of upper caste landlords and zamindars. So the idea that by the virtue of their position in the society as being the lowermost and suppressed caste and class, they are being exploited by the upper caste in every true sense. For example, in the sense of physically, exploiting them, and in the sense of culturally exploiting them in every true sense that we talked about. So the Dalit women were dedicated to the goddess of those making them Devadasis. Dedicated to goddess of making Devadasis, the raping of low caste women of landlords by landlords, it's also basically to degrade the honor of lower caste men and to punish them. Ambedkar has rightly argued that the caste system was formed to control women's sexuality. Upper caste men have free sexual access to Dalit women, thereby satisfying their own pleasures and degrading Dalit men at the same time. However, if Dalit men even suggest the idea of a sexual association with an upper caste women, they are severely punished. The sexuality of the upper caste men who has the freedom of sexual licentiousness. Even in school, Dalit girls are abused as they are asked for sexual favors by teachers or are forced to have sexual intercourse in order to get money to pay their fees. These aspects are clearly brought out by Meena Kandaswamy's poems. Kandaswamy also directs much of her attack on education system, especially the treatment of Dalit students who, for example, might be viewed with suspicion that they might perhaps be pregnant just because they happen to vomit. She also focuses on the bruises and beatings the children get, although the education system in itself is generally so. So the idea of they are being poor, they are being from a lower caste, and therefore they are being more vulnerable to any kind of sexual exploits. So even if there is a man from the upper caste who wants to show it to the lower caste, community to or some kind of revenge he wishes to take, some kind of vendetta that is going to happen, what is the best thing that they can do? They can rape their women. That is what is easily available to them. But the very idea of upper caste men showing their sexuality and licentiousness on these Dalit women and is seen as being a show of masculine power, but that when exercised by Dalit man, if he happens to have an intercourse with the upper caste women or marries an upper caste woman, he is clearly ostracized by the society and shunned in every which way possible. Then, okay, over here, let's talk about this first. So I'm just pointing out the first liners of every paragraph, which is important, which through which you will be able to understand. So the third aspect is access to water. That is the idea of keeping them in unhygienic conditions so that they can always be at the fringes, at the corners, so that you can exploit them at any time. Then the last and most obvious aspect of Dalit women life is the issue of untouchability, and then how they are seen as an object to be used as long as they are of usability. All right, let's talk about the poem. Have you ever tried meditation, struggling hard to concentrate and keeping your mind as blank as a whitewashed wall by closing your eyes, nose, ears, and shutting out every possible thought, everything? And the only failure that ever came, the only gross betrayal was that your own skin. You will have known this? Do you still remember how the first distraction arose and your brain skin as sinner? How when your kundalini was rising, shaken, you felt the cold concrete floor, skin rubbing against skin, your saffron robes. How even in far of different realms, this is being done. All right, so read the poem, read the imageries, and you will find the idea of distraction, the idea of hesitation, the idea of exploitation, which these women have been subjected to, the Dalit women that we are talking about. All right, so read that carefully, you'll be able to understand that. All right, then let's read from here. So when Kandaswami addresses her readers as you here, it is the upper caste reader whom she addresses. She talks about doing meditation. All of us have tried doing that sometime or the other. You sit still and you also try to make your mind still. You try to shut out all the senses, eyes, nose, ears, thought, and everything else, and try to take your mind to a blank level. So she's telling them that have you. One second. I'll also point out. Okay, first of all, yes, ask me. There are some messages. Let me see to that. If there's anything that you wish to add, ask, you can do that. Navodita, that's very great. That's very amazing. That makes me very happy that your parents were so supportive of you, that everyone supported you. Such beast, such animals should be always brought to the world so that their wrongdoings are, revealed in front of everyone. And the fact that your parents were supported you all through the fact that you are two sisters and the things that you're telling me, I'm very proud of them also. It is people like them who make this society a place to be fit to live in. Yes, you should always love and value her. Your parents are always going to be there for you. I'm happy that is the case. Yes, Sandhya, the poet is about the oppression of Dalit women. Yes, Vidhi, it's about the hierarchy. Yes, Nikita, that's true. Very good. Okay, let's finish off this one, then we will have our discussions once more. Then, so have you ever tried doing that? Something, sometime or the other, you sit still and also try to make your mind still and you try to shut all the senses, eyes, nose, and but there is one of the five senses of your body which we cannot shut. She writes that is the sensation of our skin. As we sit on the cold floor, the touch and the feel of clothes we wear, you will experience this at the same point or the other. She writes. She asks if you remember that time when you tried meditating and how slowly you were distracted by one thing or the other. Meena writes saffron robes in order to point out the sacred and pious nature of the upper caste readers who is meditating here. The Kundalini, the sacred energy of the body. So somebody was asking me what is the Kundalini in this poetry. So it is also about the positive energy that she might be sarcastically pointing towards the upper caste is shown to be traveling up the spine, and yet something prevents it. The fact that we cannot totally be still and quiet and concentrate. Somewhere we keep feeling our clothes and the floor beneath us. That is what she means by betrayal of the skin. The poem also shows that the strict separation between body and soul in Indian philosophical thought in order to focus on your soul. So, first of all, she is taking the conversation forward by pointing to the idea of meditation, that how it is even when you're meditating, even if you're saying that, I'm completely trying to meditate, there is nothing else I'm going to talk about, think about. You can still not avoid everything which is around you. You can feel the land beneath you, the earth beneath you. You can feel the feel of your clothes. You can feel the touch. And she's now again representing the idea of how Kundalini, the idea of saintly figures who are trying to meditate in a form. Prachi, which unit are you talking about? Ma'am, what Shruti, you're asking, ma'am, what's the role of, she's specifically referring to the upper caste, the Pandits, you can say, in a way. Sanjana, you are saying this poetry defined which kind of situation women always, yes. Nikita, you are saying in this poem, Meena Kandaswamy points out that how touch is the most basic sense and very fundamental, and that is which cannot be neglected. But still, Dalit women are even denied to it when they are called untouchables. See, very good, right? So now in third stanza here, she moves away from meditation and writes about other forms of touch. For example, taste. Taste is just a way of touching with your tongue, feeling with your tongue. A touch is also a caress from your loved one, a touch which would have changed your life, a touch after which you would never have been the same person again. So this can be in the romantic caress or even another sort of caress by a loved one. Feeling with the skin is one of the first senses that we know in our lives, she writes. The sense of touch is very important for baby. The baby's touch of the mother is perhaps the first thing that the baby knows or experiences in life. It is so fundamental to life, she writes. You would have experienced all this, she says. You would have experienced all the temptations of touch and the desires in love and sexual life. She tries to show how primary a force touch is in our lives, perhaps the most basic of the five senses. So the idea of physical intimacy, the idea of having and feeling loved and loving someone is so fundamental to us. That is, it is our mother we touch first, the very first touch that we experience, and the other touches that we have, be it in a romantic relationship, be it with a family, a brother, a sister, our fathers. It is what how we know that we love the person. It is how we show love to the other person. But you, the upper caste reader, will never know, would never have known, Chira, is what it is like to be an untouchable. Touching a Dalit is a taboo to transcendence for upper castes. In a sense that touching a Dalit is an obstacle for us in reaching the path of God. In other ways, also touch is an obstacle to transcendence, who cannot forget and shut out touch even when one tries to shut out everything and focus on God while meditating, as she shows in the first stanza. So she's saying that while the idea of touch, the idea of affection, the idea of showing love and getting love is so fundamental and a basic necessity of a human being, it cannot be understood. The lack of it cannot be understood by these people who feel that, it is so normal to feel in a certain way. It is so normal to feel welcomed, touched, and not being ostracized by the society. It is only we who truly understand what it is like for us to, for people to ignore us, for them to leave the place after contacting us, or for them to run away, or purify themselves with our touch, or for not to let us touch their food or allow us to be in a certain way. So she's saying only we can understand that kind of behavior, only we can understand that kind of alienation that we go through. All right, so are you able to understand? Will you be able to analyze this? So that brings us to the end of the syllabus. All right, the short stories we have covered, all the concepts have been cleared. Then we have also, we are done with shadow lines, we are done with Anita Desai's as well, R.K. Narayan, Salman Rushdie, all of these. Now I want you to ask me any questions that you have, anything that you wish to add to it. All right, so it is very important for you to read it. All right, read everything that we have covered. Also go for the background readings, that is for you to read, because that is going to help you in order to better understand the text that we have. All right, so you need to be very focused about that as well. Apart from that, I'm 100% sure that all of you are going to do well, not just in the examinations, but all through your life. You have been great students. You have been constantly been over here answering questions. You have been deeply involved, and I'm very happy about it. I'm really it shows that your the way you answer, the way you critically analyze the situation, it shows that what we have been trying to do here, the idea of honing our intellectual abilities, have been of use to you, have been of great purpose to you, because now you are at last, when you're able to do it in a perfect sense, I feel very happy about it. All right, so you have to continue doing it. Always be thinking, challenge yourself to different issues. Take one topic in every 2 days, stand in front of the mirror and speak for half an hour. That is going to improve your speaking skills, your reading skills. Try to speak as if you're trying to make the topic easy and understandable for someone else. All right, that way you will be able to practice. Sandhya, you are saying, ma'am, although the society is changing, we have moved ahead, but still these social evils like gender and caste discrimination are prevalent, which clearly shows that there is a lot more to be done and a long way to go. Yes, that definitely. Let me take up the questions that you have. Any queries, anything that you wish to add to the conversation, you can do that. Okay, so here we go. Just ask me what is it Okay, Pooja, the idea of having an extra sense of women, yes, that is there, that is there. Nikita, you're asking, ma'am, is it necessary to buy the main book for short? No, actually, you can do with this also. You can also Google read. Some of them are easily and freely available. Nidhi, ma'am, this poem shows how the Dalit women used to suffer in their daily life, like sexuality, untouchability, etc. Yes. Background readings, Ria, you can read on your own. Yes, you have to read it. Aisha, you're saying, ma'am, Meena Kandaswamy says that have you ever tried meditation in the way that try to shut your eyes, nose, everything? It's hard to do what you can do at some point, but you can't stop one sense, which is touch. Even if you're meditating, you can feel the coldness on the floors. Yes, the idea of you can shut everything else, all right, but you will never be able to know what it is like to feel so untouchable, so untouched that people would take your even your physical presence as a kind of curse. All right, they will try to purify. Is it not a very inhumane practice that you're treating someone like this? Even you are free to touch the animals of any sorts, but you will not touch human beings. Okay, wait. Divya is saying just like we know what we are going through. Yes, the idea that only you know how much you have suffered and how you are suffering right now. Yes, good. Yes, it Pooja. Yes, it rightly raises the issue of inequality towards lower caste. Yes, it does. Thank you so much, Sadia, that you think that I have been a reason in your being able to do that. I'm very happy about it. I hope you are able to become more critical thinker, great critical thinker, better yourself every day, add value to your life. That's great. And according to the poem, the upper class people think that they were touched with the lower caste people, then they become unholy. But for the sexual abuse, the lower caste women, why they not think of their becoming? Yes, that is Prachi. That is the question. That when it is of convenience to you, would use them. For example, in a story, there was this story by there is this very famous story, Deliverance, which is in Hindi, it's Sadgati by Premchand. So it talks about the idea of how the Pandit asks Dukhi to come into inside his house and clean the floor, you know, plaster it with dung once again because it has not been done for the longest period of time. But when he comes to the house to ask for some coal for the hookah that he wishes to drink, his wife creates a scene as to how can you allow a Dalit inside the house. For Robi, yes, you're right. The Dalit women who have been unjustly treated. Yes, Sandhya, the idea of grandmother's house by Kamla Das, whereby she also talks about the idea of deprivation and only then being able to understand. Yes, Roshni B.R. Ambedkar was one of the first forerunners. Priya, I don't have any idea about this. This is completely the work of administration of whether you can change your subject or not. But for background reading, Pooja, I think this study material is sufficient. But if you wish to buy, if you wish to read it in elaboration, you can always buy the master text. It's available. Nidhi, very happy that you feel motivated that I'm able to do so. All right, so that is about it. I hope that you were able to understand. Don't worry if there's anything that you wish to ask. If there's any paragraph that is not understandable to you, you can always contact me on Telegram. I'll be checking it every now and then. Don't worry about it. You will all do great in the examination, but study for excellence. Study so that you can add value. Study so that you can, when you talk to someone, they must know that this is a student of literature that I'm talking to. They must be in awe of you. That should be your goal. You should be able to understand things better than them. You should be so articulate that they feel impressed by you, that they know, that they feel inspired by you. You can also inspire people, all right? That is what you have to do. You have to really gain knowledge and become something, make something out of this life. Do not waste any time. All right. So let's call it a day. Let's call it a session. All right. I hope we will meet soon. I hope we will have many more sessions to come. All right. Till then, you have to study hard. Concentrate on what you're doing. Do well. Do it with wholeheartedness. If you are having fun, have it with all your heart. If you're studying, do study with all of your heart. All right. And nobody can stop you from becoming what you wish to be. All right. That is what should be your aim. That is my wish for you to become great. All right, for you to be able to satisfy yourself, that you should be able to stand up and say that I justified what I did. Yes, Roshni. Okay, I'll try to come in third semester. Okay, okay, good, Simarkar. Pooja, yes, thank you. You're always welcome. Welcome. Okay, that you're able to understand. That's great. Yes, Nikita, very all the best to you, all of you. Yes, Nidhi, I hope we meet soon. Till then, you have to study hard, read the master text, read whatever you can, lay your hands on. You have to keep reading, you have to keep increasing your knowledge. That is what my wish for you is. That is how this teaching will be justified. That is how your tenure as a student will also be justified. Okay, so let's call it a day. A very good day to all of you. Have a great sessions ahead, and okay, Nidhi. That's great that you will miss studying, that you'll miss me. That's great. Yes, Nikita, let's hope for that. Thank you so much, Sandhya, Sarabjeet, Roshni, Nikita. That's great, Sanjana. I'm very happy that you were able to understand, that you are able to do so well. You all are very welcome. Aisha. Okay, Harpreet, I hope you all meet soon. All right. Kanchan, you can contact someone over here. The Telegram link will be shared with you. All right, you can do that. All right, so thank you so much, Nikita, Shruti. Thanks to all of you for your wonderful words, for your kind words. You all are always welcome. Yeah, Nikhil. Yes, thank you. All right, so let's call it a day. I hope you all do well. Just study hard, stay motivated, stay positive. Do not lose hope. Do not be dejected any point of the time in your life. You have to you have to keep learning, no matter what, no matter the consequences. Just study the best. Give it your best. No, don't worry about the result. Okay, it is another plane. Exams are one thing. You are studying, you're justifying the study is another. Do that wholeheartedly. Okay, I'm publishing this link that Pooja has sent. You can join the group. All of you. Thank you, Gursimar Kaur. Thank you so much. All right. So all the very best to all of you. Study hard, stay motivated. I hope we will meet soon and meet together for a session over here or in person. All right.